Just days before I posted my Planet Coaster review and left for a long overdue vacation, Atari made the surprising announcement that they would be releasing RollerCoaster Tycoon World in early access. And while I was enjoying a few too many rum and cokes on the beaches of Jamaica, the early access title officially launched to predictably awful reviews. But if you recall in my not so negative review of the game's beta, people weren't too happy with the game back then either. So now that it's been almost a month since it released, I figured it's about time that I share my thoughts on RollerCoaster Tycoon World Early Access Edition. Now, if you've seen any of my previous videos on RCT World or Planet Coaster, you'll know that I was a fan of the game's coaster builder, despite its flaws. I still like the total freedom you get over manipulating the track pieces, allowing you to make some great looking coasters once you've mastered it. One improvement they've made since the beta is that you can now manipulate track pieces at shorter degree increments. For instance, you can tilt the track at increments of 5 degrees as opposed to 15 in the beta, and that actually makes a pretty significant difference when making complex elements like inversions. They also somehow managed to fix the issue where the track moves to your mouse position immediately upon selecting it, so now you can go make edits in places and not worry about it completely screwing up your layout, which is nice. But the biggest addition is the new piece-by-piece building system, which was highly requested after the beta ended. Though it definitely helps when creating straight track pieces, it's honestly just way too limited at this point. You are once again only able to twist the track at 15 degree increments, and what's worse is the pitch can only be set to 25, 45, or 90 degrees. These limitations aren't unlike the builder in older RCT games, but coming from the complete freedom of the freeform coaster tool, it's just jarring how limited it is. I've only really used it for small sections of straight track and occasionally for a lift hill, and I don't see it having any utility beyond that at this point. Aside from that, the biggest issue I have with this new updated coaster builder is that Invisio did some tweak to how you manipulate the yaw of the track that just completely throws me off. As you can see here in the beta build, if I twist a track piece 45 degrees then attempt to turn it 90 degrees to the left, it stays perfectly level and parallel to the ground, which is how I'd expect it to be. But if you try the same thing in the early access build, it actually tilts the track downward and creates kind of a slope, which is so far completely screwed with how I build certain coaster elements. I've been particularly struggling with helixes, as my gut instinct is to twist the track, then change the yaw, but that doesn't work anymore. Honestly, it's probably my fault for messing with the beta build of this game for so long, getting used to it knowing that it would probably change, but I'm going to complain about it anyway. Regardless of that, the coaster builder is still the best thing about RollerCoaster Tycoon World. In addition to coasters, you can now choose from a wide range of flat rides to add to your park. Honestly, none of them look or sound all that great, especially when compared to Planet Coaster's flat rides, and some of them just look off. Take this Superfly ride for instance. It looks way too large, and the base of the ride contains grass that doesn't even match the normal grass texture on the terrain. And this pendulum ride, it doesn't even swing, it just slowly moves to the top and spins for literally days on end. Like, what the fuck? And if you couldn't tell, a lot of the ride models already have scenery built into them, so you can't really make a uniquely themed flat ride. I don't know, I guess they could have been worse, but none of the flat rides in RCTW impress me at the moment. Invisio has also added a lot more scenery objects since the beta, but unfortunately the tool used to place scenery is still a pain in the ass to use. The collision box on each scenery piece makes it extremely frustrating to place objects around each other, and the snapping tool hardly works the way I want it to. Without the flexibility to overlap and merge objects together, my park scenery quickly felt very bland and samey. When comparing to the brilliant scenery system in Planet Coaster, scenery in RCT World just doesn't feel worth the time of investment. But there is still one big advantage that RCT World has over Planet Coaster scenery, and that's their built-in UGC system. At the moment, you can only download coaster blueprints and scenery objects from the Steam Workshop, but there are already over 2,000 items available for download, which is pretty incredible. Now, not all of them are of high quality, but there are definitely some impressive pieces in there that look much better than any of the default scenery objects. Not only do they look better, but they work better too. With UGC items, you can remove the collision box and make them stackable, allowing for much more creative freedom when placing in your park. Even with all this, I still prefer Planet Coaster's system at this point, but RCT World's UGC is showing a lot of promise. Like the scenery tool, the path and terrain tools in early access seem largely unchanged from the beta build, for better or worse. I still don't have much to complain about with the terrain tool. It does its job well enough, but don't expect to do anything spectacular with it. The path tool, on the other hand, is still terrible. You still can't place paths next to each other, and the curved path tool is still a pain to get right. You also still can't curve queue lines, which is particularly annoying after being able to do so in Planet Coaster. While they have a lot of texture options for both regular paths and queues, none of them look all that great, and there's a very noticeable tiling effect with the patterns when you start to zoom the camera out. They did fix the issue with path heights where you had to drag your path out to ridiculous lengths for it to create a ramp. However, now the shorter ramps can look a bit too hilly for my liking. I still prefer Planet Coaster's angled ramps in this regard. The game also now includes a buildings menu, which includes food stands, souvenir shops, and staff stalls. Again, the tool for placing these buildings can be a pain to use, as they almost never directly snap to your pathways, so each shop needs its own little individual walkway up to it, which ends up looking terrible. Without the option to create custom buildings around each shop, you once again run into the issue of your park looking bland, with the same buildings copy and pasted all over the place. but at least each stall gives you cool information like Peep's thoughts and financial stats, something you'd expect from a RollerCoaster Tycoon game. And you know what? Along those same lines, I think Invisio has done a good job making this at least feel somewhat like a RollerCoaster Tycoon game. There's a decent sized scenario list with different goals to meet, you get a lot of the same park management options that you get in older games, and most of the simulation features seem pretty solid. Peeps will still get sick and puke all over your paths when they get off a nauseating ride, and you can even still build death coasters and crash them into those peeps, though it's honestly a little more gruesome now. Like, on paper, this game checks a lot of the boxes that made the old RCT games great. But the problem here is that the game was clearly rushed to get to this point, and the lack of polish shows in pretty much every aspect of the game. Performance is lacking with long loading times and way too many dropped frames, the graphics are ugly and fall flat, the sounds and animations are terrible for rides and peeps alike, the UI is confusing and clunky to use, the camera system can be frustrating, the tutorials feel half-baked, the pre-built coasters are embarrassing, there isn't an autosave feature, there isn't an undo or redo option, you can only delete objects by using a specific delete tool. Like, seriously, whoever thought that was a good idea? It's issues like these that collectively make RollerCoaster Tycoon World simply not fun to play. It was honestly a chore for me to make this review because of how much I dreaded playing this game. That's something I never experienced when playing Planet Coaster. Hell, I found it nearly impossible to have a bad time playing that game. But with all that said, RollerCoaster Tycoon World isn't doomed to stay bad like this. If Atari and Invisio are truly in it for the long haul, the early access model could allow them to fix a lot of the issues that are currently present. I mean, they've already pushed a few updates just in this first month, which is great, but they obviously still have a very long way to go. The foundation for a solid game is still here, it's just trapped under a myriad of bugs and poor decisions at the moment. And until the day comes where most, if not all of these issues are fixed, I simply can't recommend buying this game. It would be much more wise to hold onto your money for now and just keep an eye on any updates from Atari and Invisio to see if they're truly making any progress on fixing this game's issues. And in the meantime, you can take solace in the fact that you didn't pay $50 to play it in this awful state. Like me. Hey everyone, I'm not usually one to beg for likes and subs, but videos like this one can take a lot of time and effort to make. So if you enjoyed it, please do me a huge favor and leave a like below. I really can't overstate how much those likes motivate me to make more videos and to make them more often, so they truly are appreciated. And if you're feeling extra generous, go ahead and subscribe too so you'll know whenever I do upload a new video. As always, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.